man, I can ask you to do it. Please back up.
Oh, yeah.
Back up.
Oh, yeah.
Back up. Back up.
The greatest weakness of the Black Lives Movement, the greatest bane of existence of the BLM movement is nothing but body cam footages. Hey guys, my name is Modi and you're welcome to Modi Speaks. I almost never made this video because I know that this video is going to have a lot of restrictions from this platform, mainly because it is very graphic, okay? But my duty is to report the truth to you guys. So on second thought, I decided to bring this video to your attention because yeah, you deserve to know the truth. First of all, I'd like to say shame on you to those people who are blaming the officer involved in this incident. But specifically, I would love to say a big shame on you to Georgetown women's basketball team for doing this. This tweet reads, Georgetown women's basketball mourns the tragic loss of Sydney Wilson, forever a Hoya. Now, going by this tweet, one might assume that a poor black woman have again suffered an injustice that led to her death. At least that was what I thought when I came across this tweet. But on noticing the little community note at the foot of that tweet, I decided to take a closer look into this story. Now, what happened was that this black woman had been unalived by the cop, but the plot twist is her demise was actually justified, according to my opinion. Now, let's see what actually went down here.
Approximately 10:03 a.m. on September 16th, officers from the Reston District Station responded to a residence in the 11,800 block of Sunrise Valley Drive in Reston. A mental health professional requested officers conduct a welfare check on 33-year-old Sydney Wilson out of concern that she was in an agitated state. A crisis intervention trained officer was the first to arrive on scene at approximately 10:07 a.m.
In case you're wondering why the police sent a crisis intervention trained officer, that is because the culprit was going through some mental issues. They needed an officer that was specially trained for these scenarios.
The officer knocked on the door and Wilson answered. He identified himself and Wilson immediately closed the door.
Hi man, I'm Officer Lou.
Right off the bat, you can clearly see that this woman is disturbed, okay? She is really going through a mental phase, and I felt sorry for her in that moment.
The officer continued to knock for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, explaining to Wilson that he wanted to check on her welfare. During this time, Wilson placed her phone next to the door with music playing. At approximately 10:17 a.m., Ms. Wilson opened the door and immediately assaulted the officer with a knife.
How are you?
No, Jesus Christ. Back up. Back up.
Now, if he had shot her right that minute, it would still have been justified, okay? That was a lethal move she took when she aimed that knife at the officer's jugular. She could have slashed him to death with that one move because she was intentional about it. So if he had shot her right that minute, it would have been perfectly justified. But then again, he did not. Bear in mind, that officer is specially trained for managing critical situations like this. He was aware that that woman was going through some mental issues, so he held out from shooting her with that first move. So yeah, I commend his hesitation. To me, this officer is a hero. He is a good man. This woman had him backed up to a wall. There was nowhere to run to. There was no exit. She was advancing towards him with a knife, and yet he kept telling her to back off. I honestly believe that if he had anywhere to dodge, like say any passageway to run to, he would have taken that route instead of shooting her. He showed her so much mercy, okay? He gave her all the benefits of doubt you can ever think of. And when he finally shot her, he did so because there was no other way. She was clearly a huge threat and would have slashed him to death if he hadn't taken her out by the time he did.
Oh, yeah.
Back up. Back up.
Oh, yeah.
The officer tried to de-escalate the situation by giving verbal commands and retreating from Wilson. While doing so, he backed up into a dead-end hallway. Wilson continued to move toward the officer, attacking him with the knife.
Oh, yeah.
Hey man, I can ask you to do it. Please back up.
Oh, yeah.
Back up.
Oh, yeah.
Back up. Back up. Back
again, I want to say that her death was justified 100%. In fact, if there was any injustice, it would be the fact that the officer hesitated before taking her out. But I understand why he gave her that grace, so it's okay.
Wilson attacked the officer and continued to assault him, striking him in the head. The officer attempted to reposition himself away and discharged his firearm, striking Wilson 3 times.
531 bubble. Single one. Shots fire.
What is your location?
Star medic, please. The suspect's down.
Now I know that I blurred this part out, but you might still be able to make out the fluid dripping from the officer's head and hands to the floor. Of course, you know what this fluid is, okay? I don't want to run into issues with this platform. I already have a lot on my plate regarding the kind of topics I cover on this channel. But the officer lost a lot of red-colored fluid dripping from his wounds. This is just crazy.
I need medical too.
Units are out, step it up, and fire department is en route.
Additional officers rendered first aid and administered blood to Wilson until fire and rescue personnel arrived on scene. Wilson was taken to a nearby hospital where she was pronounced deceased. The officer was transported to an area hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Are you okay?
My head.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Okay. Do you have any other injuries? Do you have any other gloves? Okay. Do you have any other injuries? Do you have any other gloves? I don't have any other gloves. Get rescue in here. You used to have them. MCB 41 have fire department come inside.
Now, that was a tragic end for that woman. I really feel bad for her situation, but I also understand that her demise is very clearly justified. If the officer hadn't taken her down, then she would have taken the officer down. You can see her physical appearance, her height, her build. She is a very huge woman, towering over that officer. So I don't blame the officer for 1 second. In fact, I think he is a hero. Now, imagine what would have happened to her neighbors if she had decided to go after any one of them, okay? If she can attack an armed police officer with such confidence and violence, what do you think she would do to the neighbors and people around her when she gets into one of her mental phases? And also, for those of you trying to justify her actions, I know her supporters are thinning out now because this footage has been released, but then she had a much larger supporter prior to this video being released. So to those blaming the officer for whatever reason, what would you have had him do? Just tell me. Not to be a racist and allow that unhinged woman to hack him to pieces? Is that what you want? And yeah, that was why I framed the title of this video the way I did, because I know that there are still people out there who are thinking that the cop was racist for shooting down a crazy black woman, even though his life was at risk. And in case you're wondering, that poor officer is not even white to begin with, okay? He is Asian. All in all, even though I sympathize with this troubled woman and I feel for her family, I must still acknowledge that her demise was justified. Anyway guys, these are my thoughts, these are my opinions, but feel free to share yours in the comment section below, but do so respectfully. Also, if you're not subscribed to this channel, honestly, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit the subscribe button, like and share this video to keep people informed, and consider joining my membership as a way of supporting the channel. Anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to catch you on the next one. For now, peace.